Good morning again, I'm Maurice. The weeks are flying by, it's Friday again, and I've got more food for thought. I've been thinking this week about friendship, proof of friendship. How can you prove that somebody's a friend to you? Well, words like faithfulness and come to mind, trust. But the aspect I want to look at is of intimacy. You only tell your close friends your secrets. So the proof that you're a friend of God is not do you share your secrets with God. Many people are not afraid to share the secrets with God. But you only know if God considers you his friend, if God shares his secrets with you. So let me challenge you. When did you last get a revelation that no one else has got from the Word of God? Or when did God last reveal something to you that would happen to you or would happen to the world in the future? What has God shared with you that's intimate, that nobody else knows about if you don't tell them? Well, I've got some illustrations of people in the Bible who were friends of God. Abram was a friend of God. Let me read it. James 2:23, and the scriptures was fulfilled which said, Abram believed God, and it was imputed to him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God. God shared his secrets with Abram. Let me read it, Genesis 18, verse 17. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abram the thing that I do? Seeing that Abram shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, close friend, I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abram that which he has spoken of. So we know that Abram was a friend of God because God shared his secrets with Abram, not that Abram shared his secrets with God. Moses is another one who was a friend of God. Let me read it, Numbers 12, verse 5. This is when Aaron and Miriam had tried to usurp him and complained that he had all authority. And the Lord came down in a pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord will make known myself to him in a vision, and will speak to him in a dream. But my servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak evil against my servant Moses? That proves to me Moses was a friend of God. King David was a friend of God. God revealed to David that from his seed there'd never be a man to sit on the throne of Israel. I mean, that's quite a strong statement for God to make. And that was personal to David. God shared about David's future. Let me read it, 1 Kings 9 verse 5. Then I will establish thy throne upon thy kingdom, Israel, forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail to thee a man upon the throne of Israel. God was talking to Solomon and telling him what he said to his father. Well, that was the Old Testament. Let's take somebody from the New Testament. What about Paul? He was a friend of God. How do I know? Because God revealed things to him. An angel came to Paul by night and revealed things that would happen about his shipwreck. Let me read it, Acts 27, verse 23. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou shalt be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all the men that shall sail with thee. God shared his secrets with Paul. John The Apostle John was a friend of God because when he was on the Isle of Patmos, God shared to him the secrets of the last days. He had this vision and God revealed things to him about the future. This is what Jesus said to his disciples. They were friends of God. John 15, verse 15. Henceforth, from now on, I call you not servants, for a servant doesn't know what his Lord does. But I've called you friends, for all the things that I've heard of my Father, I've made known unto you. Jesus shared his secrets. He said, I'm going to the cross, and I will suffer and die and rise on the third day. He didn't tell the Pharisees that or the crowds. So, time's gone. But my question to you is, what has God revealed to you personally that other people don't know? About your own life or about others, or the plans of God for the world or his bride? Well, I consider myself a friend of God in some measure because God told Joni and I about the Twin Towers and Ground Zero 13 years before it happened. I remember a vision that Joni had about a maple leaf and God said we'd go to Canada. It was 20 years before we went, but the prophecy came to pass. God had shared that secret with us. Nobody else knew. God told me that I would have a son after Joni had had a miscarriage and she felt she'd have no more children. And God woke me up one night and said, I'm going to give you another son. And Joni had a dream from God and God told her what to call him, Isaac. Notice that Jesus called the disciples friends, not the followers. You know, you need to get to know God before he'll consider you his friend. So, seek to be a disciple, and you'll become a friend of God. Time's gone. Have a wonderful week, and keep thinking.